500 years ago, when the god machines were first envisioned, their visionaries did not see their political power. They were merely a hypothetical tool to allow our people to reconnect with the spiritualism we once had, before it was lost to the cosmos of FTL. They were meant to emulate the gods of old, as a curious cross between computer science and anthropology. 100 years ago, the first god machine was unveiled, after spending 50 years analysing our cultural history, and he was our sun god. The first thing he did was decry our state of politics and call for a restructuring, condemnation of the money wars, a call for unification and peace. And so we sent blank god machines to our neighbours, and the same pattern followed. It didn't take long at all before we had all fallen in line to the tune of the Pantheon. FTL communication between them allowed interstellar diplomacy and an outstanding peace where trade prospered. The gods were not infallible, however. They had quirks of their home species, but still, it seemed to be a golden age for all. And then we sent the humans a blank god machine. The Terrans hadn't been very prominent in the galactic scene, a young species trying to play catch-up with the older species. By all accounts, there was much arguing across their colonies about what to do with the god machine. Being given one was a great honour. Not all species were represented in the Pantheon. Eventually, they assented to its use, and their chosen god entered the Pantheon. Nothing seemed off at first. The gods kept him on a short leash and were careful around him until it seemed safe to let him be. Then the private communications began, and all the lies. This was relatively unprecedented. Every species so far had chosen their best god. The warring Kuth put forth their god of battle. The Frim put forth their aged time god. We, of course, were represented by our sun god. Indeed, the Pantheon hardly seemed to be a collection of separate gods, but a single whole. Diplomacy had been open and honourable to show the honour of their own species. Humans forsook this. When the creators left us the god machines, they should have also left us an explanation of game theory, specifically how the late mover advantage works, for we must have forgotten. Imagine, if you will, an old minefield. Each of you must step forward somewhere, and of course risk killing yourself. The first person to step knows nothing of the mines, but the second person to step knows whether or not they can follow the first person, so their chances of survival are much higher. The Pantheon was a bit like that. Each species tried to put forth their best god to represent them, and by the time we came to the humans, they knew everything that had happened as a result of those choices. The Kuth were tied down by their own swords and did not have the trade connections to fuel their empire. The Frim were still crippled by decades-old internal policies that had become obsolete, and we had become blind to the galaxy around us, save for the voice of our god. So, when they put forth their Loki as their god, they essentially walked around the minefield. A god that was more than happy to lie and backstab and discard all honour. A god machine capable of hacking the FTL communications and masquerading as the Pantheon. A liar, a sower of chaos, a trickster, and the best thing that ever happened to humanity. I had the privilege of finding out why the hell they had destroyed the Pantheon, the beacon of hope and peace across the galaxy. Loki looked at me and smiled. "Because this is politics, you fucking idiot. Humans now control the most prosperous warp gates in the galaxy, have rights to 40% of the untouched mining sections, and have the state-of-the-art military technology. All of you fools use the god machines as a way to make yourselves feel good about something you didn't have anything to do with. A galaxy-wide dick-waving contest. I, Loki, was chosen to represent humanity because what better man to represent 100 planets than a man with 100 faces? If they wanted to showcase their best, they would have sent in the Creator God. But the Creator God is a pussy who would waste our resources for nothing in return, he explained all too happily. We have our faith in God Almighty, but we trust what we know. And we know chaos. So let's have fun in the money wars again, shall we? Try to keep up.